Hamas is continuing to review the U.S. president's plans for an end to the war in Gaza. Donald Trump says he has given Hamas 3 to 4 days to respond to his latest proposal. He's warning the group there will be facing severe consequences if it fails to accept the deal. The ultimatum came a day after Trump met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. They presented a 20-point proposal for a ceasefire. Mitchell Barak is the former aide to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his time at the Foreign Ministry. He was also the former speechwriter for Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. Joins us now live from West Jerusalem. Thank you for joining us. So, foolishness, stupidity, tragedy, a failure of the Benjamin Netanyahu government. These are some of the terms being used by cabinet ministers within Netanyahu's government to describe his government's position on the Trump peace plan. What do you take from that on where this is going? If he tries to get it through cabinet, will we see some ministers pull out of the cabinet?
Not clear. You have an expression in Arabic, kalam fadi. A lot of these words are empty. They're meaningless. It's people that are posturing and just trying to, hold the line. There are some very interesting things in there. Of course, that the hostages, the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, will have to give up their arms, give up their government. They'll have to release the hostages within 72 hours. The humanitarian aid level will go back to what it was, something like 600 trucks a day. The Israeli troops will start to withdraw. And there's even, Palestinian Authority reform, which could even lead to statehood. So that got a lot of people upset because about 80% of the Israeli population is against Palestinian statehood.
And on that point, is that not really the missing element of this whole plan? Is that it doesn't address, the critics are saying, the root cause of this conflict with stipulating an end to the occupation, Palestinian statehood, and the right of national self-determination to begin for Palestinians. Should Israel, in your experience as someone who has advised prime ministers, should Israel end the occupation, recognize a Palestinian state to end this conflict?
Which occupation would you be talking about?
The Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory. You do recognize Israel as an occupying power, right?
Occupying power where? I'm just not understanding. Because we've been out of Gaza since 2005. We can agree that Israel has not occupied Gaza since 2005, where there are 1.3 million Palestinians. And in the 20 years that the Islamic resistance, Hamas, was elected in 2006, took over, kicked out and killed many Fatah members, another 1 million people were born in Gaza. Now, 2.3 or 2 million people. So we'll agree that we're not occupying the Gaza Strip, correct? And for 20 years, we haven't occupied the Gaza Strip, correct? Or you believe that was an occupation?
Okay, so I was deliberately just wanting to let you finish and give you your time. You've had a minute and 28 minutes, so I don't want to interrupt you too much because I want to give the audience an opportunity to understand what you're saying. But clearly, aside of my opinion, this has already been adjudicated by the International Court of Justice on July 19th, 2024, when it referred to, in points between 88 to point 94, that Israel still is the occupying power because it still controls Gaza. It refers to, in point 88, that the disengagement that you referred to in 2004, Israel announced a disengagement plan. However, it says the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory, including East Jerusalem and Israel, reports Israel maintains control over, inter alia, the airspace, the territorial waters, the land crossings, civilian infrastructure, water, electricity, key governmental functions, right? So you're not suggesting to viewers that the International Court of Justice is wrong, are you?
Well, we can talk all day about the International Court of Justice and what they were trying to do with finding Israel and trying to adjudicate Prime Minister Netanyahu. But we obviously didn't have enough control if the Islamic resistance could build 250 kilometers of tunnels underneath.
Sorry,
And
that
we have
wasn't
to
my
ask
question, though,
ourselves the
sir.
question, why we don't have enough control about the concrete. So they weren't really resisting. They were in charge of Gaza. They weren't resisting Israeli control over the Gaza Strip by coming into Israeli communities, slaughtering, killing over 1,200 people, raping women, taking hostages, all in the name of their Islamic resistance. I think what's going on here is there's a lot of people that think the Israeli occupation includes Tel Aviv, Yaffo, it includes Jerusalem, and that's not going to happen. You know, we can talk about the Palestinians on the West Bank and how they should have self-determination and they should elect their own leadership. At the same time, there are 2 million Israelis of Palestinian descent living here, full Israeli citizens with full rights. At the same time, there's also 4 million Palestinian descent people on the east bank of the Jordan River. Why do they not have rights to elect a parliament in Jordan? Why can they never be the prime minister of Jordan? They can never have a majority there. Meaning, what you have to define a Palestinian first to say where they're going to have the state. And also, it's got to stop the terror and supporting terror. And up until now, the Palestinian Authority, Abu Mazen is in the 20th year of his 4-year term. He was elected many, many years ago. He continues to pay pensions and prizes to Palestinians that kill Israeli Jews. And that's unacceptable. So there will be no statehood until they recognize and say, Israel has the right to exist, and we're not going to terrorize them. And the International Court of Justice in The Hague is really irrelevant to this case because they've politicized themselves, and they haven't really looked at the possibilities and the truth. And that's why the United States is sanctioning them as well, because what they come out with are political pronouncements.
All right, I've let you go for 2 minutes and 17 seconds so far. I tried not to interrupt you, but you really haven't answered the question I posed to you. Are you telling viewers the International Court of Justice, I mean, you opened this by saying that I should agree with you that Gaza is not occupied. I've read to you the ruling by the ICJ on July the 19th, and you've pivoted to everything from pensions to... Let's put all that stuff aside. If we had a half hour, maybe we could get into that. But again, I mean, if you're not happy to recognize what the ICJ said, how about what international human rights groups have said, including Amnesty International in its report of 2020, saying authorities used a wide range of measures to target human rights defenders, journalists, and others who criticize Israel's continuing occupation of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and Syrian Golan Heights. Human Rights Watch, April 27th, referred also to Israel being the occupying power in Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. Are they also wrong? They don't really understand? Are they irrelevant?
Well, there are a number of other countries in the world that don't recognize that, including the United States. So, you know, I'm not the one who can tell you. I can tell you that we don't take. No,
I'm not asking you about the US, sir. I'm asking you: are you telling viewers all of these organizations wrong? And Israel is not an occupying power. The ICJ doesn't understand. Amnesty International doesn't understand the reality. Human Rights Watch doesn't understand the reality. Perhaps Beit Salem, an Israeli human rights organization, that on the 12th of January 2021 said the Israeli regime enacts in all the territory it controls an apartheid regime. Are they wrong as well?
Again, Hamas was elected an apartheid regime. I'm not understanding why you're focusing on this. The ICJ has also issued arrest warrants for Israeli leaders. Almost very few countries, if any in the world, take it seriously, even those that support it, because the prime minister is traveling freely around the world, as is the foreign minister, the former defense minister. It's great to talk about whether we're occupying or not. But in 2005, I was in Ariel Sharon's office when he was prime minister, when he announced the disengagement, and many Israelis were against it. All Israeli troops came out at that time. All Israeli settlements were moved out of that time. And in the end, 20 years later, what we got was an organization called the Islamic Resistance, which is not resisting Israeli presence in Gaza because Sinwar was in charge of Gaza. So they weren't resisting that. They're resisting the fact that we have kibbutzim in the south, the Beersheba, Ashdod, Ashkelon, all these places, Sderot, and Tel Aviv and Yaffo. To them, that's the occupation. We can argue here, the International Court of Justice, Israel doesn't take it seriously. The United States doesn't take it seriously. The own judge who adjudicated that is under investigation for a number of different problematic behaviors that he had. The point of the matter is
there wasn't one judge, sir. There was a committee of judges. Let me just correct that factual. I think it wasn't one judge. But anyway, if we can, I've let you. I think the inference from what you're saying for viewers is yes, all of these organisations and the ICJ are wrong because Israel doesn't recognise it. We'll let viewers to judge that. Maybe we can look forward, going to the future now. Will this plan? I mean, will this plan work? If Netanyahu can even, assuming, get it through his cabinet?
And Netanyahu stood there in front of President Trump and the rest of the world and accepted it. He'll get his government there. He'll get the Knesset there. Even if people leave his government, he will be able to pass it and agree. We're all waiting for the Islamic resistance movement, Hamas, to decide whether they agree or whether they don't. I personally don't think they're going to agree. Why should they? They've never been more successful. They have hostages. The whole world is looking at them. All eyes are on the Hamas. They don't care about the Palestinian people that are there in Gaza, that some of them you showed before this segment. They never cared to open up the tunnels to protect people or to provide them with food or anything else. They are resisting Israeli presence in all of Israel and the state of Israel, and they don't care. So why should they give it up? They're not going to give up their arms. Their interpretation of their Islamic resistance is to kill Israelis, to rape Israeli women like they did at the Nova Festival, and to take hostages. And in fact, many of them are on record and on television. They recorded themselves yelling, Allah Akbar, how great is Allah in this situation where we can kill Israelis, where we can rape them.
Mitchell, sorry to jump in, but does the same rule apply then? Does the same rule apply to Israelis then? If we know that Israel's government currently, it has a prime minister and it had a minister of defense who is wanted on war crimes charges at the ICC. It stands accused of committing a genocide. It's been found to have committed a genocide by a United Nations Commission of International Inquiry. The state was set up by leaders who were considered terrorists. I'm sure you might know the history on this, on how some of the founding fathers of the Israeli state were wanted by British authorities for terrorism offences. It currently has a minister who was convicted in 2008 of a terrorist offence himself. Does that disqualify Israelis? Should they have the right of self-national determination disqualified and be told the same thing? Stop the terror before you're allowed to have statehood?
I think everyone who might have been a terrorist has stopped that. And we've gone out of the Menachem Begin, who you are alluding to and referring to, whose book, The Revolt, is on the behind me on my shelf.
Ben Gvir is still in power, sir. He was convicted of a terror offense.
He signed an agreement with Egypt, gave up to Sinai. Ariel
Ben
Sharon,
Gvir is in government, sir. He was convicted of a terror offense. You do know that, right?
Yes. I'm fully aware of that. But all these people are agreeing to Netanyahu's accepting. They will be in the government when Netanyahu accepts the peace plan. And Netanyahu is in the White House, and no one has resigned from his government. And even if they do, it's irrelevant. So you're focusing all the time on Israel, and you're going back to 1948 and the British. That's great. At the end of the day, this war could end tomorrow.
Actually, you raised these points. I was just responding to them.
Could end tomorrow. All the Islamic resistance has to do is say, we give up. Here are your hostages. And if any of the hostages are out there and watching this, tonight is Yom Kippur. And everyone should know it's the holiest day of the year, a day in 1973 that 5 armies attacked us. But that's fine. We will all be praying in synagogue. We will hope for a peaceful new year. Peace in the region, peace in the world. We are not looking for war. That's not how we glorify our God. That's not how we fulfill our commandments. We are interested in living side by side with everyone here. And hopefully, You can have me here in 1 year from now, and the whole Middle East will look differently. And the way Donald Trump is talking, and the way Prime Minister Netanyahu is talking, and all of the other Arab leaders, including Prime Minister of Qatar and Egypt and the UAE and other people, this might happen. All everyone needs to do is lower the tones and get rid of that terror and those people that are trying to kill innocent civilian people. And the Islamic resistance, Hamas, can stop that right away.
All right. Thanks so much, Mitchell Barak, for talking to us.
Thank you. I always like a monologue with the people of Qatar.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.